So Prinston, what are we talking about today?
Talk about the curse of talent. A lot of people, when they're trying to be successful, they always talk about how they're talented, they're great ideas, all that shit that really does not matter. We're going to talk about something that's a little bit better than talent, and how we can have something that's consistent to make sure that we're growing no matter what. Wouldn't it be great to just be talented, to have the natural ability to do whatever you wanted? But what if I told you there's something better than talent, something better than having natural gifts or abilities, and something that you have access to right now, today. Now look, we're at the NFL Experience right now, and this is one of the homes of the most talent in professional sports in the world. But a lot of people don't understand the true cost, or not even just the cost, the curse of talent. Because sometimes talent can be a curse. So we're going to talk about how talent is sometimes a curse, and how you can overcome the curse of talent. Imagine right now, you're growing up, you're like a 4-year-old kid, you've always been talented. You've always kind of had everything given to you. People have always given you praise. In school, you always did well. People have always liked you. People have always said, you know what, you're the best. You're going places. You never really had to work for anything. It just comes to you so naturally and so easy. As the years progress, you get older, you go to high school, you're still the same person, still getting everything given to them. Then you go to college, same thing. It repeats the cycle over and over and over again. However, what happens though, the first time you face real adversity? What happens when your talent is not enough? What happens when you haven't built the critical skills to be consistent, to stay focused, and put in the effort in order to make something that's built long term? When we talk about talent, we like to talk about the glory of talent. How talent is such a great thing. To be born with talent, how great that is. However, what we fail to realize is that a lot of times when people are talented, it doesn't cause them to work as hard in order to achieve the things that they actually achieve. Right now, you see these pictures, football players, people have roles of greatness. And of course they're talented or whatever. But most people are missing is that it's not just talent, also their ability to work hard, to be consistent, to get from where they started from. There's a lot of people are talented, but they're not going to ever have their picture up there because they don't put in the work. So when you get out of school, what happens? What happens? You're talented, everybody's praising you, but then what do you have to do? You have to start working for yourself. Like when you get into entrepreneurship, there's nobody who cares about your talent. They don't care about your ideas. It really doesn't matter to anybody. So now, because you were talented, so you're talented. Oh, so what? You're talented or whatever, right? And you go into somebody's business, you go into somebody's office, and they say, what do you have? What do you have to present to me? You don't have shit. Why? Because you depended on your talent to get to where you want to be. I remember this story. I heard this a lot of times, and I thought this was the most ridiculous story when I heard it. They said, you know, Jordan, he's not the best player ever. He's not, right? It's a guy in New York, his name Earl Manigault. You may have even seen his movie. Great movie, epic film. I suggest you go see it. However, I always heard this argument, and I thought to myself, well, if he was the best player, why is he not in the league? Because there's factors outside of talent that contribute to somebody getting to this type of stage. Now look, you look at all the people who could be in the NFL right now. You can look at everybody I could be in the NFL, but can people put in the consistent work in order to get there? Now, that guy may have been better than Jordan, but he couldn't put in the consistent work. He couldn't stay out of trouble. He couldn't focus. He couldn't build himself up to work with teams. He couldn't do any of this stuff in order to succeed and ultimately get to his goal of maybe winning a championship, getting the Super Bowl. And that's the same thing when it goes to all the players, all the wannabes saying, oh, you know what? I want to be in the Super Bowl. I want to play. I want to score a winning touchdown. But have you really thought about how talented people, so many talented people, they never reach their goals? And why is that?
So we're here at the NFL Experience and we're talking about talent. So like Prinston said earlier, this is one of the places where the most talented athletes come together and compete for the Super Bowl or to win a championship. But I saw an interesting story, and it was talking about Odell Beckham. How Odell Beckham is one of the most talented players in the league. However, he's always partying in the club in Miami. Then you have other guys, like the guys who are playing for the Atlanta Falcons, who are actually in the Super Bowl. They may not be as well known as Odell Beckham, but they might not even be as talented as Odell Beckham. But simply being able to focus and be consistent is getting them to the Super Bowl.
Why is that? Because they've had everything easy. Just because you have talent, just because you're talented, doesn't mean you're going to necessarily succeed. And once you realize that having talent can often lead to you actually doing worse because you don't feel like you have to work that hard. Because your natural ability makes you say, well, you know what? I don't need to do what everybody else is doing. So your talent becomes your gift and your curse. I'm going to tell you a couple ways to overcome that. So now, We know the curse of talent, how talent can be a curse. How talent can be the one thing that actually gets in the way of you accomplishing your goals. So how do we overcome this? Now, the biggest thing I talk about is having self-awareness, being aware. You have to be aware of something in order for you to be able to change. I've talked about this before on other videos, so I won't go back in depth into it. But I want to say that first because we have to understand that this is a problem that plagues everybody. You're not the only one who's going to have problems struggling with talent. You're not the only one. So, understanding that, what can we do in order to overcome the curse of talent? Well, I'm going to give you a couple simple things that I learned when it comes to talent. So the first thing is, you have to set a baseline for what you're going to do regardless. So let's talk about consistency. Consistency is better than talent. I said it. I might even put it on the screen somewhere. Consistency, greater than talent. You know the little sign they put? Consistency, greater than talent. Consistency is greater than talent. I'm going to tell you why. There's a couple reasons. If you have a business right now, and somebody logs onto your business right now and they see the most beautiful video they've ever seen. They see the most beautiful web presentation. They see the most beautiful content and they say, man, this is a good site. It's a banging fucking site. I love this site. And then they log on your website the next day, then it's not there. Then they go to your page and the next day it's not there. Then another day passes and then still nothing shows up. The people are going to say, well, you know, that was a good thing he did. He was talented, but I guess he wasn't consistent, so I'm not going to really pay attention. But what about the person who's consistent? They're putting out maybe average videos, maybe even mediocre videos, but they're there every single day. They show up every single day. Every time you go, there's a video. Every time you go up, it's a post. Every time they do something, you just say, man, I'm familiar with this person. Maybe even when they put the video up one time, maybe you saw an ad or something from you, like, man, I'm clicking off that shit. I don't want to see that. But then what happens? Eventually you say, man, I've seen this person doing this so much. Let me just see what he's talking about. Let me see what he's talking. Let's see if this is something that I might be interested in. And then you start to gain people. And then even the talented person, while he's sitting back, talking about how great his talent is, talking about how great his ideas are, talking about how he's going to change the world, he never executes. He never puts anything into play. While the person who may be putting in mediocre effort, but they're there every day, people begin to view them. People begin to watch them. I know there's people you see right now. There's probably an artist, a singer, a rapper. There's somebody you see that's not talented at all, but they're successful. Why do you think that is? Because like I said earlier, consistency is greater than talent. All the other stuff you could have, you could be the greatest, you could have all the great ideas, but I can tell you one thing. Once you master consistency, you'll master everything. Now, I'm not going to just leave it like that because that's very vague. People say, oh yeah, I master consistency. Well, yeah, be consistent, right? That's like a buzzword everybody says. How do we actually master consistency? Well, there's two things you have to understand in operating why you're not consistent. First thing I say, the first thing I always talk about is the annoyance factor. Everybody who gets into marketing, the first thing they say is, well, you know, I don't want to post too much. I don't want to put too much content out there. People might be annoyed. And I'm going to tell you a secret. I'm going to tell you a big secret. The people who get annoyed with your content, guess what? They weren't going to buy anything from you. They weren't going to be a part of what you're doing anyway. So you shouldn't give a shit about that. You should just continue putting stuff out there. Now, the second factor that works, and I say probably this is one of the biggest things, is the content quality factor. And what do I mean by this? Everybody wants to put out the best looking stuff ever. Everybody wants to put out the best videos ever. But I can tell you can even go back and rewind on this video and see how some of our videos, maybe they weren't that great. Some of them were even out of focus. Some of them weren't the best. But we always showed up and we're always consistent. And that leads to continuous growth over and over and over again. If you're not worried about those things, it's easy to be consistent because if you put a video up every day, it may not be the best video, but you're still consistent. And then when you put out that masterpiece, when you put out your magnum opus, the pièce de résistance, I don't know if I said that right. When you put that out, then people can say, yeah, you know, he was consistent. Maybe those other videos was just something he was doing. But this is their true work and their true value. And while you being consistent and everybody else is depending on their talent, you make waves, you make moves, and you don't have to worry about being talented. So I think you can see how talent can sometimes be a curse. You think it's a gift. You think it's something God-given that's going to make you get to the top. But I can tell you there's thousands, maybe millions of washouts right now who never did shit with their talent. So what you want to understand, what the biggest thing you need to understand is that talent, no matter what it is always going to be subordinate to consistency. It doesn't matter how much talent you have, because trust me, I have friends right now that are so talented. They've been telling me for years how they're going to do something with their business, but guess what? They never did anything. So if you can understand that talent in itself doesn't really matter, and it's more about consistency, like this guy walking in front of me. Even though he did that, I'm still going to be consistent. It doesn't matter, whatever, right? But the whole thing is, like I'm saying, talent, no matter what, at its core, fundamentally, it's not the thing that's going to get you to the next level. It's the consistency, it's the focus, it's the effort, it's putting in the time. And as soon as you master that, you'll be the master of whatever level of success you want to achieve. Like I said always, like and subscribe for more. Hit that subscribe button, love that subscribe button. Go tap that subscribe button. Massive action movement, that subscribe button. Follow us for more, join the massive action movement, and see you next time.